All right.
Okay, you ready to me start the slides?
Yes, sure. Thank you. All right. First of all, I'd like to thank you and welcome everybody. And I am really pleased to see everybody here tonight. And I can tell you this treasure session training is a very, you select the best people in the state of Kansas to teach you about everything about being a treasure. You have these individuals, the faculty there have a lot of experience with treasure. They have been working with that for many years. So what you try to do here is build a bridge into the future. Next slide, please. Now, one thing that is important for you to keep in mind, there is no separation, digital and real space. What I mean by that? One thing that's important is one thing that's most important for me, I think, is to be aware of your fellow lions. Make sure that you aware your surroundings. And if you have any noise, background noise, and you might gonna mute you because you don't wanna, interfere to anybody learning. So one thing that is important as well, be on time. You wanna mute yourself. And then when you wanna have time for speak, you just let us know you want to speak and then you can mute yourself. If you have headphones, you can go ahead and use your headphones. And one thing that we really like is participation. You can do it 2 ways. You can raise your hand or use your function or Zoom to speak up and pay attention. And also you love questions from you. You can use your chat box to ask questions. You will make sure that you answer all your questions. And today, it is the day that you ask all your questions about treasure. Because again, you have a very experienced faculty. Also, I would like to remind you that this session has been recording and because you want to make sure people is not here, the people that could not come, they still have a chance to learn from this wonderful training session. Next slide, please. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce to you our PCC Hans of Potwin, Kansas. He has served as a multiple District 17 state treasurer since 2003. I did realize PCC Hans that's been so long. In 2 years will be almost 20 years. He's a retired colonel, having served for 39 years in the Kansas Army National Guard and Kansas Air National Guard. Upon his retirement from the military in 2013, he began his new career, working as a high school special education paraprofessional until May 2018. He is currently semi-retired, but remains active in the workforce as a substitute teacher. He has been serving in different positions at the club, district, and state level. Positions held at the multi-district state level include council chair 2000-2001, MED 17 treasurer, again, 2003 to present, state international band committee co-chair, 2002 to present. And he has served as the Great Plains Life Leadership Institute staff as a course presenter in 2017, 18, 19. And he has served as a Great Plains Life Leadership Institute curriculum coordinator since 2020. And he has received many awards. To name a few, the International President Award, International President's Leadership Award, multiple International Presidents Appreciate certificates. He is also a recipient of the Melvin Jones Fellowship. PCC Hans and his lovely wife, Sherry, also a Lion, and Melvin Jones Fellow. They have 2 children and 5 grandchildren. And with that, Mrs. Han, please, I would love to hear your remarks.
Thank you, Governor Vanya. Welcome, treasurers. Again, your role as treasurer is very important. You're the keeper of all the monies for your clubs, and you are there to help draft and then try to execute and track a budget for the year. You should be working hand in hand with this club secretary and also the club president to make sure that they have a successful year, especially the president. Keeping good records is very, very important. You can do it multiple different ways. We're going to talk about a few of those ways later on this evening. But again, your membership, your club membership has really placed trust in you to make sure that the funds are accounted for in a good fashion so that you can be successful as a Lions Club. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Again, we select nothing but the best individuals to teach about treasure. You have our state GLT and PDG Dan Funk. Again, PCC Hans, our state treasurer. I did realize it's going to be 20 years pretty soon. That's a long time, Hans. Wow. Our own immediate past just Governor Rick Dodson has been served as a treasurer for many years. I cannot reveal here how many years because I might reveal his age. That won't be very polite. And PID Gene Vogan, it is wonderful. Thank you so much for all of you gentlemen for agreeing to serve by sharing your knowledge. Next slide, please.
Okay, before we go further, we're going to do a real quick poll to kind of see how many years of service y'all have. And I would only like those that are club treasurers or have served as club treasurers to answer this poll. So answer if you've been a club treasurer less than a year, for 2 years, 3 years, or 4 or more. That looks like pretty much everybody's responded. I'm going to end the poll and share our results. So looks like we have quite a bit of experience. Governor, do you want to shoot that?
Yes. One of very nice school that I really enjoy is says about pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. And I think that our faculty has been doing that for many years. Next slide, please, PDG Rick. As PCC Hans mentioned, by the end of this session, you'll be able to understand and explain the role, responsibility of the club treasurer. Be able to classify funds and accounts, and also navigate through my LCI and pay bills online. Very important, complete tax forms for your club, and access additional resource as need. And I am so glad that you have this session tonight, because that's going to help your club to function much better if you know how to do all these things as treasurer for your club. Next slide, please. Now it's my pleasure to ask our PDG Dan Funk to take it away. PDG Funk.
Thank you, Vanya. I really appreciate the opportunity to get together with all of you. I have served as Kansas Lions treasurer for about 10 years off and on, and also have been a treasurer of my local club. One of the things that I think we need to know is that the beginning of is where are you saying in far as the structure of the club? You have your president, as you see, and then there, the red line is indicating the first vice president, membership chair, and the service chair. This would be first vice president, second vice president. And then over to the left, you have two very important people, your secretary and treasurer. Now, some clubs have secretary treasurers, some clubs have secretaries, and another one is treasurer. Some people even split their secretaries up into recording secretaries and ones who fill out the forms. It is very important that you realize that you are to be giving reports to your club every month about the financial status of your club, whether it is written or verbal or both. I would prefer it be both, but at least give a written report out to all the board members and a summary to all club members. Next slide, please. You are the financial officer of the club, and you are expected to attend all meetings, or as many as possible, or the board of directors and the club. Treasurer is under the direction of the president and the board of directors. The communicator of club finances to members and boards of directors reports are completed and presented monthly or quarterly. Like I said, I feel that we should be doing it monthly, at least a written report, and orally, definitely, the shape of the clubs and how you're doing each other. You are the backbone of the club as far as club finances, and it's very important to keep all those records very straight. As we go on here, and in a little bit, I'll be showing you a couple things off the slides that I have. Go ahead, next slide. Next, okay. Now, we attend all board meetings at board of directors and clubs. We maintain accurate records. Now, I have a stack here by my table that is all the club records for my club for the last year. There's in folders. It is 12 inches high. In each folder of each month are all the bills, all the receipts, and then what I have, if they don't have a receipt, for instance, like it's an online charge, and if I don't have a receipt, so most of the time I do, but if I have something, I make out of what's called a transaction report and follow through with that. I expect you to have receipts for everything, but sometimes that isn't possible, or something happens that you don't get it. You should be able to do a club transaction report to explain it. You get a date, the time of it's done by credit card or bank charge, and then that information. Pay out all monies only with the authority of the board of directors. There are no exceptions. However, the board of directors can annually pre-authorize the payment of fixed expenses. A good example of that is my board on Monday night will be making a budget with me, and we will go through and do the budget. And at that time, my board will allow me to pay bills that are budgeted for in the annual budget. For instance, I don't need permission to go out and buy the supplies for the pancake feed. I have that in the budget authority. But if I have something that's not in the budget authority, for instance, like we had a pump go out on our water tank that we're watering for trees, I went to the club last night and said, here's the pump. I need $150. It's environmental, is budgeted, but it is not for this purpose. And I have $150 out of this fund for that project to get that pump fixed. So anything that you have like that, you either need to wait for the board of directors or the club, and then you need to get a pull by email to have permission to go ahead and purchase that if it's an emergency. Report reconcile balances with income and expense report statements to members of the board of directors. Every month I use software called QuickBooks. We have a variety of softwares out there, including Excel, that work just fine. But I give a report of how much income came in and how many expenses came in and what they were for to the board of directors every month. And then I receive and deposit money any approved deposit bank accounts. If you receive deposit money, I always write on, since I have a program like QuickBooks, I always write on the deposit down at the bottom what it was for, who it was. In the field, I tell whose dues it was, so that I could always match it up, my dues, with my spreadsheet that tells me how many people owe dues and what their purpose is. So it takes a little bit of time, but it's a good accounting record because I have that back in there and I have 2 ways of checking it. Next slide, please. You need to realize that there's 2 accounts you must always keep. One is administrative and one is activities. Some clubs have separate bank accounts for each one. They have an administrative checking account. They have an activities budget account. Other clubs have software that allows them to have different bank account or different accounts within the banking account to show the administrative and the activities budgets. You can never take anything out of activities to pay for administrative fees, but you can take things out of administrative to pay for activities. We'll go into that a little bit more. I think that Gene has some, PID Gene has some great examples of what is administrative and what is an activities budget. You are to give bond for faithful discharge of your position. It usually costs anywhere from $180 to $300 a year to have bonded insurance. Usually that works with going to a large insurance company in your community and they can help you with that. If you have problems with that, if you'll contact myself or PID Gene or past council chair Hans, we can direct you to other people that could do that. You are to have your records audited at the end of each fiscal year. Now, what is an audit? Well, basically, you have 3 lines, hopefully with some with accounting information or knowledge, that will go through and spot check how your receipts match what checks you wrote, if your deposits match what deposits you wrote, and just look over your financial records and make sure they're in good shape. In my case with the Goddard Lions Club, because we have $130,000 we go through a year, we have an auditor or a tax professional that goes through and checks my balances with my checking account, goes through and spot checks my receipts and deposits, make sure that they match up. And he has some knowledge of our club and how it works, so he goes through and spot checks it. That costs in the neighborhood of $300 to $400 a year, but he also files my 990 and the other appropriate things that we need to file. The club has taken that on because the amount of money that we go through in a year, because of our fireworks and things like that, it does have a tremendous impact on our budget. And at the end of the year, then you have to file tax returns. Now, I strongly suggest, I have mine ready for the auditor right now. I finished it up. In fact, I'm going to go to the board on Monday night. We're meeting as a board. We're going to give me approval to go to the auditor with the books from last year. And then we will file our taxes. There is no reason to wait until November 15th to file. You need to file in September, August, or September, and not wait till the last minute to get it done in case there's problems. Not only do you have the 990 to fill out, whether you fill out the 990 postcard, whether you fill out the 990N, whether you fill out the short form of the 990 or the long form of the 990, you need to have that done. And Treasurer Hans will explain the thresholds for that when he gets to his part of the program. At the end of the year, well, let's start at the beginning of the year. At the beginning of the year, before the year starts, there's a motion at my last meeting in August, or excuse me, in June. Who's going to be on the account for the next year? If you have debit cards, who has debit cards? And who has signing privileges for checks? You should have at least 2 people on every signer of a checking account, if not more. We always do in our club, we have the president, the vice president, the treasurer, and if it's a special fund like Mitten Tree, we have the Mitten Tree person on that. Then we also have debit cards and who they go to. We don't require 2 signatures because we have a lot of transactions that are credit card and things like that, but we do require that there be more. And the reason for that is we've had in case of clubs and districts where the treasurer has passed away and there was no way to get to the account or the accounting information. On that same line, everything should be backed up on a separate place for all of your records. As far as bank accounts and spreadsheets, I use Microsoft. It automatically backs up all my documents all the time. And I have left that password with my president and my secretary so that they know if they can get in there with that password and secretary to get in. I also gave them my password to my machine. So if I was ever to be deceased or incapacitated, they would be able to get into all my records so that they would have all that information up to date and ready to go. It's very sad when you have to create a whole year for a district when it's 3/4 of the year over and have to go back and start all over at the beginning to build a financial report. Then transfer financial records for the new treasurer. You should show him or her how to access the software you're using, teach them how to use the software. If they don't know how to use that one, they prefer to use another one. That is up to the club to make that decision on what they're most comfortable with. But you need to be able to pass that baton along so that the signature cards and everything, and it takes a lot of time to go through signature cards because you have to have a driver's license, you have to have everybody sign it. And so it's a big deal to get that done every year. So we really work on trying not to have a lot of changes. When we do it, we try to get it just so everybody's on page and ready to go with it. Because you really technically cannot write a check after July 1st and be legal unless the board of directors has given you permission to do so. So in my audit report that I give to my tax advisor, it has my bank statements, my monthly reconcile sheet. It has all my receipts and all my transaction reports. If I have a missing receipt, then I have to make a transaction report. I even done as far as I've taken a picture of what I bought. So, if that is something that gets lost or misused. It is not. I have had treasurers say, well, if you want the receipts, they're in a box over there. That's not what it is. You need to file them by month and have them match your receipts on your transactions, expenses, and deposits. And like I said, it's very easy when you put them in folders by month. The tax returns, you're going to be told that you have to have 7 years of tax returns. Where you store those is another issue. What are you going to do with your financial records at the end of the year to make sure that they're held for 7 years? I was not treasurer of the Lions Club at the time, but we got audited. We had to show minutes for 3 years. We had to show tax returns for 3 years. And they went through and checked all the different things to make sure that we were in compliance. And so that's why you don't want that to happen. You want to have those records readily available in order, whether you keep them off-site or whatever, you need to have a way of keeping them and know where they are. Your administrative team, your board needs to know exactly where all those things are and have them available so that you're not looking really foolish in front of the IRS. I don't have minutes for that year. Next slide, please. And I just talked about that. Ensure clubs' dues are invoiced, collected, and deposited. Inform board of directors of delinquent dues. We try to send our bills out in June for July through December. We try to send our bills out for January through July, the 1st of December, and try to encourage members to get them all paid by the 1st of January or the 1st of July. What does that do? Well, number one, it makes sure that you know who you're not wanting to drop. If you have to drop somebody, you want to know it before that magic deadline so that you can take care of that. And number two, you have to pay those dues during the month of July or the month of January to get them done. Most club treasurers do this. However, your club secretary may be involved in dues collection and is a good source for helping to collect dues. In other words, some secretaries feel it's a check and balance. If they keep a check list and they take the dues and then they hand it to the secretary treasurer after they have completed checking off their lists and everything, and give it to the treasurer so it matches. Next slide. Next slide. Accurate records. The administrative and project account I've already talked about with that, and keeping that separate. It's most important that we do that. There is the use of funds policy that the Lions International has given you. It's very important that you do have those two separate, either in an accounting package or in a separate bank account. Like I said, at no time can you take money from the project account and put it in the administrative account, but you can take money from the administrative account to help in the project account. Financial recording, just what I talked about doing. We talked about the importance of financial recording, of getting everything straightened out. And this could be a simple sheet that just is attached to the receipt. I always like to write on there what check I paid it with, the date, and my initials. Bonding, I've talked about. With bonding, the most important thing is making sure that it's taken in effect before you take over office, and that should be included as part of the budget and getting that done. And then auditing, SOP 3.2, the audit procedure gives very detailed information of what should be done with the audit, and you can find that online through State of Kansas or an international. Next slide, please. Funds raised from the public must be used to benefit the public. The administrative is your club's income and expense accounts for doing club business. And it explains that in your guide that you have to go along with that. The club income and expenses account for that. Now, how does your club get administrative money? Well, besides dues collection, and you have a local dues collection, I presume, you can do things that do not directly reflect doing something for the public or making public pay. For instance, one club I knew used to hand out phone books, and they got so much money for handing out phone books. We have a situation in Goddard where we hire a carnival to come in, and they give us 10% of the profits for that, and that goes into our administrative budget, because that is not a Lions function. It is part of our fall festival, but it is totally there because we get a cut of their gate revenue. It's never advertised as a Lions Club project. The Lions Club does not endorse the carnival in any shape, way, or form. It's not called the Goddard Lions Fall Festival. It's called the Goddard Fall Festival, and it's ran by many different organizations. Your project account, you can get it from like pancake feeds, fireworks, soup suppers, different types of things like that. It goes through that opportunity. I encourage you to use your My Lion and go through the service project thing. It gives you good beginnings to start a service project, and how to get organized for a service project or a project to do. And it talks about how to pre-plan and get everything organized, and then how to make sure that you're concluding and get it finished up. You have to protect your accounting procedures. That's why you have to have those receipts. That's why you have to have accounting procedures in place that show the tracking of the money back all the way back to the very beginning. And you need to get everything done of that nature. And also this creates trust from your community. In a brochure that we hand out to the Goddard Lions Club, we tell how much money we raised off of the different projects. And we tell where that money went to. For instance, $3,000 went to watering trees or buying trees for the city park. $2,000 went to high school scholarships. So we try to match up as close as we can how much our money we raised with the projects we spent. So we try to do that in a kind of report. We give that report to the city council every year, so that they have a report of what we're doing with the community, to let them know that we're just not going out and spending money to spend money. We're going out to do projects for the community. So it creates trust for our community. Next slide. We talked about using some form of accounting programs, QuickBooks, Quicken, spreadsheet, or there's other financial programs out there. At this time, we're going to do a poll to find out what kind of computer program you use. And some of you may not use a computer program. Some of you might use a ledger sheet. And that's totally appropriate. If you're a small club and you don't go through a lot of money, that's pretty easy. So a spreadsheet. So let's go ahead and have the poll, Rick. If you'll mark that, please.
Looks like we've got a few people that haven't voted yet. If you could go ahead and vote so we can end this. The rest of you don't keep records. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. And there are your results. I'd be curious as to what the other accounting formats are that some of you use. Governor, you taking a shot of that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you.
We'll be interested in answering those questions in a little bit here. So those, most importantly, those kinds of computer programs give you a good snapshot of what's going on. You need to communicate with your previous club treasurer. For instance, I had a question about, where does this go? Is this part of fireworks or fireworks show? There's a project, we have the fireworks or the fireworks tent, and then there's a fireworks show that we get to, and you got to make sure that when you're doing permits, you make sure that the permits match up with the right thing. So communicate with your previous treasurer to make sure that they know all the ins and outs and where things should be things. And I would suggest you calling them up and saying, hey, look at this and see what you think and see if I made any mistakes. You also need to, if you need help, contact your district governor or district treasurer, because they are good resources, or Hans or I. any of us will be glad to help you in any shape, way, or form. Even, and I will tell you that some clubs do credit cards, and you have to take that in consideration, because when they pay you a credit card, you have a fee. Now, according to Kansas law, only governments can charge a convenience fee. So you're not a government, so you have to take it in the shorts for that 2.9 or 2.5% charge for the credit cards. So you have to remember that's going to be an automatic expense off of your gross profits if you take credit card receipts. But a lot of people do it that way. I mean, there's very few people, when we have bingo, that pay with cash. They pay with debit cards. So they like that convenience of that. And we have found that probably the best one to use is Square. And it is very easy to use, and it gives us a good report and tells us exactly how much money we get. And as always, remember the club treasurer should be bonded. That is the most important thing. It not only protects you as a treasurer, but it protects the club for their financial resources. Next slide. Remember to perform a club audit at your year's end. It could be a club audit committee. It could be a club member with accounting experience or an outside source. As I told you, it depends on kind of what you have. Turn your books over to the auditor when all accounts are balanced or reports are ran for the year. And follow the SOP, which standard operating procedures is what SOP stands for. Audit procedure, which is pages 9 through 11 of your participants manual. And then those reports need to be going back to the board. The board needs to know if there's a violation or things that you need to be concerned about for the next year, make sure that they happen. So it's very important that you keep those things in order and you make sure you have somewhere to safely store those records for 7 years. Next slide. And now it's my privilege to introduce to you past Council Chair Hans Neihart, Lyon State Treasurer.
Thank you, PDG Dan. Before I get started here, just want to make a couple of quick comments. You're going to hear a lot this evening about treasurer, what you should be doing, kind of how you should be doing it. Every club has an opportunity to be a little bit different. Don't be overwhelmed by what you're seeing or hearing this evening. I would suggest that, if you see a better way of doing it, or if you like to, some of the things that you'll hear this evening, if you want to try to incorporate that in the way you're keeping your records, again, each club is going to be a little different depending on the size of your club. And the other thing that my opinion, personal opinion, is that unlike your club president, a secretary and or a treasurer really needs to be kind of a long haul position. You really don't want to change a treasurer every year because there's just too many opportunities for things to kind of fall through the crack. So, if you've been a treasurer for a couple of years and you're going, well, how long am I going to be treasurer? I was a treasurer for the Poplar Lions Club for about 27, 28 years before we ended up going down to Towanda and joining the Towanda Club. So don't get overwhelmed this evening. Kind of use it as a sponge, soak it all in, take out the highlights. You'll get to see this later on. You'll have access to this later on. So again, just take a deep breath and hang in there with us. Dues collection and dues payment. A couple of things that I just want to hit before I go into some of these numbers here is a incident that happened in the Poplar Lions Club years ago with invoices that were sent out, but people failed to pay them. Now, we're all good Lions and we hate to let anybody go for non-payment. However, there comes a point in time where you have to sit there and draw a line that if a person doesn't pay their dues, Because remember, those dues is how we get money, the primary source of money for our administration fund. We ended up letting some people go for about 2 years. And when it all came said and done, they left, did not pay their dues. And the Potland Lions Club basically ended up eating about 200 and some odd dollars, because LCI is going to want their payment, the district's going to want their payment, and the multiple districts going to want their payment. So, you know, it's up to treasurer and the secretary. If you need help from the secretary, get those dues billings out there and make sure that those people understand what they're paying for and the importance of paying on time to you. When we take a look at the dues collection payment, Lions International is going to charge you $43 a year. Okay, they're going to break that up into 2 billings. You're going to get a billing sometime in December, and you're probably going to get a billing sometime in either May or June. Okay, the exceptions to that would be family members. Family members through LCI get charged only half of that. So it's $27.50 for a family member, excuse me, $21.50 for a family member. There are also some things, personally, I have not run across any of them in the 2 clubs that I've been treasurer for, but life members. If a Lion wants to become a life member through LCI, they can do so. They pay a one-time fee, and then basically LCI does not charge them after that. One of the other things that you need to remember, LCI is going to charge you $35 for every new member that you bring in. So, you know, you want to make sure that the individual understands that there's going to be an extra $35 charge initially that you're going to send to LCI. Now, right now, there is a veterans entry fee where you can get reimbursed for that. But again, that's probably going to expire at the end of the year. LCI billing statements, you're going to get them in a couple of different ways. You can get them either hard copy through the mail, or you can sign up as a treasurer. You can sign up in my LCI and get a electronic version. And you'll get an email from LCI going, your billing statement is, you know, in your inbox, basically, and you can go online, you can look at it, make sure it's correct, and then you can even pay for it online. PID Gene will basically walk us through it later on with my LCI and kind of show you if you've not gone in there. The LCI dues are based on membership as of June 30th and December 31st. Now, for us old Lions, we can remember back in the day that if a treasurer, secretary, if a secretary dropped a member, let's say you dropped a member in September, October, and you'd already paid that half a year's dues to LCI. LCI would prorate that and they would send you money back. Unfortunately, LCI does not do that any longer. The multiple district doesn't do that. So you're not going to get any multiple district money back. But LCI will, according to Dan, I found out the other evening when we did our practice from PDG Dan, if LCI would send you a bill, let's say in early December, and you pay that, and then all of a sudden you drop a member at the end of the month, because you want to drop them at the end of December so that, you know, you don't get charged for it, they will reimburse you that money. But again, June 30th and December 31st, those are 2 important dates, because that's when your secretary really, truly needs to drop the membership if you're going to drop a person. We recently had a good friend of mine that passed away in the Potland Lions Club. He passed away in October, and he wasn't dropped until the following June. Now, why would you want to pay for an individual that either passed away or was, you know, wasn't dropped off the record? You know, you're just basically costing the club some money. District, multiple district dues, the billing statements, as the multiple district secretary, or excuse me, multiple district treasurer, I send the bills out to the 3 district treasurers. Normally I give them to the governor, and then the governor hands them to the treasurer and they pay that. The multiple district dues are $17 per year, and we bill at $8.50 every 6 months. And normally I give the district governors their billing in August, when we normally have our first council meeting. And then the one for December, at the end of December for the new year, I normally just send that directly to the treasurer. Now, your different districts, like here on the slide, District A is shown, it's $4 a year for 17A plus the dollar convention fee. District N and District K are a little different from that. So again, your district treasurer would send you a billing via the mail, more than likely. I don't know if any of the district treasurers do it electronically, but you could. They're going to send you a billing. And so it's going to be up to you as a treasurer to make sure that you get your dues collected from your membership so that you can pay the district, the multiple district, and also LCI. Now, again, as PDG Dan spoke earlier on, that money needs to be done in a timely manner. So it's important for you to get your members to pay their dues so that you can pay the district, the multiple district, and LCI. Next slide, please. Again, navigation through My LCI, PID Gene is going to log on and show you what that looks like if you have not been out there. The My LCI is a very easy to navigate system, or at least I believe it has. When it first came out, it was a little difficult, but you have to have a sign in and a password. And you can go out there and then you can click on it. You can get your membership off there. You can get your membership cards. If you want membership cards, there's several things that you can do with My LCI. So again, on My LCI, PID Gene is going to show you that and show you how to pay online if you choose to pay online. Now you can write a check and mail it to LCI, but personally, I like the pay online because I will automatically, within a few minutes, get a payment receipt, basically, that says, yes, your payment is accepted. And so then I don't have to worry about it. Did it get lost in the mail? Did I not, did they not get it for some other reason? Where's my receipt? Next slide, please. My LCI access, again, it's limited. You got to have an account with a password. Again, the club secretary, the president, or administrator can view and have edit capability. The club treasurer, you can view and make a payment. And the secretary can also make an e-payment. You can transfer money. If you don't have a debit card or credit card, you can make a check transfer basically to LCI. Again, all other officers listed in My LCI can review that data. It is a good system to use. It's very easy. It's kind of like everything else nowadays. We've kind of gone away from the paper trail of things, and we've gone all electronic and online type of stuff. But My LCI is a very easy to use system and can provide you with a lot of information. Next slide, please. We're going to talk a little bit about taxes, numbers, and special consideration. Now, everybody hates to think about taxes, but I would say that majority of the clubs in the multiple district 17 fall into the category of smaller nonprofits. Now, remember, you are all part of Lions Clubs International Association. However, you still have to do an annual tax report. Now, as I mentioned, most of you fall in the smaller nonprofit, which basically means you've got a gross receipt of $50,000 or less. You can file what they call the 990 postcard. You go out there on that website, you fill in a couple of questions. Basically, you're saying you made less than $50,000. You submit, and boom, you're done. Very, very easy. Now, for some organizations, some of the clubs, because you're mid-sized organizations, if you have gross receipts of 200,000, less than 200,000, and a total of assets less than 500,000, you now have to file either the 990 or the 990 EZ. I would suggest that you fill the 990 EZ because it's only about 4 pages long, whereas if you go with the long version, it's about 16 pages long. So if you're fall under that less than 200,000, you can definitely file a 990 EZ. Again, that's basically the one that I use for the multiple district. I use a postcard for the Towanda Lions. We don't make that much money throughout the year for gross receipts. So again, we use the 990N, and then I use the 990 EZ. One thing that I found out as a multiple district treasurer this year, if you use a 990 EZ or you use the 990, the IRS now requires that you use a third-party online submitting agency. Back in the day, last year, I could still send in a hard copy, paper copy, but I could not do that this year. I had to go out there, and IRS has a list of valid agencies that will do that for you. You fill it out online, and they submit it to you. And then pretty soon you'll get a response back that, yes, it was sent to the IRS, and the IRS got it and it was approved, whatever, and you're good to go. It cost us for the state, I believe it was about $60 to fill out the 990 EZ. For large organizations, if you got gross receipts of greater or equal to 200,000 and you have assets equal to or over 500,000, you have to fill out the long form. Again, those websites are good for that. They're not all that complicated to fill out. It just takes a lot more information than if you fill out the 990N postcard or you do the 4-page EZ copy. As past District Governor Dan said, why would you want to wait till November 15th? The year ends, our Lions calendar year, or excuse me, fiscal year, runs from 1 July to 30 June. So, you know, if you've got all your paperwork, if every month you've been doing your paperwork, you've been doing what a treasurer should be doing and keeping good records, you've got all that handy, get it all out, do your tax forms, get them submitted. You know, you ought to be able to do them at least, as PDG Dan said, you know, even by August, July or August, you should be able to do that. Because what happens if you wait till November 15th, you've got more opportunity to kind of forget about it. And then all of a sudden you find yourself on about the 13th or 14th of November and you go, oh my God, I've got to fill out this 990 form. I got to get it submitted. Can you do it? Yes. But why didn't you do it 3 or 4 months prior to that? Again, if you don't complete it on time, you will receive penalties. You know, and that's something you don't want to do. They're all three not that difficult as to do. And like I said at the beginning of this particular slide, your smaller nonprofits, if you don't make a gross of 50,000 or less, you get to fill out that 990N. It takes you longer to log on to your computer, get to that site than it does to fill in the information and hit submit. So do it early, save yourself some time. Next slide, please. Special numbers, your federal EIN, employer identification number, okay? It is a unique number that you're going to need to set up a bank account. It is a number that you're going to use for your taxes. It's a number that you're going to use basically for incorporation. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. That number is something you're going to use time and time and time again. There's always going to be a need for that EIN, that federal identification number. Again, you can apply online if you don't have one for your club, which I would hope that none of our treasurers out there this evening, I hope that you all got an EIN without having to go out and get one, but you can get one. I know in the past, years ago, several clubs would try to use the state with a multiple district federal identification number. You should not do that. You should have your very own. It would be like you asking me for my social security number so that you could fill out your taxes. You know, every club should have their own federal identification number. It's very easy to get one. If for some reason somewhere it got lost over time, you can request another one. It's very easy to do so. Kansas sales tax exempt number. Why would you, as a club, why would you want to pay sales tax if you don't have to pay sales tax? Because we are a nonprofit, charitable type organization, you can go online to the Kansas Secretary of State, and you can apply, or the Kansas Department of Revenue, and apply for a sales tax exempt number. They're good for about 4 years, and you just go on and you update your information and you get another one. When you update it, or when you get on there the first time and you fill in the information, you get confirmation back really quick. You'll get a special letter, and you'll also get your form that you would use. So let's say I go to Office Depot to buy some supplies. I have a form, I can take it in, I can fill it out, and I don't get charged sales tax. And it's amazing how much you actually spend throughout the year for different things that you could save some money at by taking advantage of the Kansas sales tax exemption. We are part of the Lions Clubs International. You don't have to be a 501c3 because we kind of fall under the international umbrella. But this is something that if you don't have for your club, I would suggest that you definitely go out there and get that tax exempt number because it will save you money over time. Next slide, please. Sales tax exemption, the most recent one expired in last year. We renewed the new one. It's good till 24. So it's good for 4 years. Again, as a state, we went out and we actually got a tax card through Office Depot. So I don't even have to take them that particular piece of paper. I took it in one time. They've got it on file. I've got an actual exempt little credit card type of deal. So it works out well. I even used it for Walmart here a while back for Great Plains Lions Leadership Institute. We had a pretty good buy through Walmart for binders and other things. I sent them a copy of that tax paperwork, that exempt paperwork, and I had to pay no sales tax. We bought about between material that we bought and the things that we did for printing was about $900. So we saved quite a little bit of money by having that tax exempt. Again, to continue to be tax exempt on sales and purchase clubs, you have to renew. They will, they'll let you know that, they're about to expire, but if you don't go out there and renew it, the state of Kansas would love to have your sales tax money. If you feel like you want to go ahead and pay it, you don't have to have a tax exempt form. You can pay your taxes, but why would you want to pay sales tax? Again, you can renew online, very easy to do so. There's just 7 or 8 questions you got to fill in. You kind of put down who the leadership is at that particular time and who the authorizing individual is, and you hit submit, and boom, you get a new form that's good for another 4 years. So again, if you don't have one, I would definitely encourage you to go out there and get one. Next slide, please. Articles of incorporation. Now, again, I'll go back to Poplar Lions Club back in the mid-'80s. We heard a story about a club that had an incident and the club was sued. And yes, LCI does provide you with a liability type of clause where they will cover you for those types of things. But again, this club was sued for more than what LCI would pay. And so the lawsuit actually went against every individual member in that club. Now, without being incorporated, every member in that club basically was being sued and could be held for any portion thereof that lawsuit. So, you could lose a home, you could lose a business, you could lose your savings. If you are incorporated as a club, only person can go out and sue you for is what you have in club assets. So if you have some CDs, if you have a couple of accounts, savings account or whatever, that's all they can touch. They cannot go after the individual members within your club. So it's kind of a safety type of deal. The $20 filing fee, I just did one the other day for the multiple district. Our multiple district, come to find out when I did some looking back in early 2000, we had, at that time, we had incorporated. But unfortunately, the filing of the annual report was not done. And so basically, we were not covered. So when I went out there, I came out with a new name for multiple district. I filled in the paperwork. I paid $20 online, and boom, we are now incorporated for multiple district. And I believe that District Governor Richard for N was doing so today for District N. The annual filing report fee is only $40. So you pay $20 when you first fill it out. Then a year later, you go online, you do your annual report. Basically, all they're asking you, have you closed down? Have you changed addresses? Who's your main person, that your contact person? Give me another $40 to the Secretary of State and you're good for another year. You know, is $40 going to hurt a club? I would hope that $40 is not going to hurt you that bad that you would not be willing to do this. If you go out and do a search of names, there are a lot of Kansas Lions clubs that are incorporated, but I will guarantee you not every Lions club in the state of Kansas is incorporated. I did put on a simplified step-by-step, where do you have to go? Where do you log in? What do you got to do? And that is out there on the multiple district website at kansaslions.org. And it's under the tax forms in the drop-down menu in the upper right-hand corner. If you have any questions on how to do that, I helped Lion Richard Webster the other day do it for his club. And, you know, it was, it's a little time consuming because you got to do 3 or 4 steps to get there. But once you're there, then that annual report is very, very easy to do so. So if you have any questions on incorporation, you need some help, check out the website. I'll be more than happy to help you. Again, it's a nice peace of mind. And as we all know, you know, somebody suing you for $1 million or $2 million is a thing of the past. Now it's multiple millions of dollars. And yes, LCI will cover $1 million. They'll go up to $2 million over a period of time. But that money goes by so quickly. And I'll use the Towanda Lions Club. We have 11 members. Our youngest is about 19. Our oldest is up in his 80s. I would hate to go to the Lions Club and say, we're being sued. And, you know, now they're going to sue each and every member for $40 a year. That is a cheap insurance policy. Next slide, please. And now it's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker, past District Governor Rick Dodson.
Okay, you have heard quite a few of these important dates, so I will not go over them again. I would emphasize, however, I don't think it can be said often enough about when you build your dues. And that is because most clubs have a cash flow problem in their administrative. The vast majority of clubs' administrative fund is, since it typically only has dues and it doesn't have a lot of money, and most of those dues are needed to go out to pay higher headquarters dues. So we bill for dues in late May and in June so that we have our members' monies due on 1 July when we start getting international, state, and district dues notices. Every one of these other things here have already been talked about a couple of times, so I won't go over those. But this is available, and I will, after the session, I will send everyone a copy of these slides so you can see them and read them yourself. If you go out to the International Lions website and click on the little magnifying glass to do a search and type in Club Treasurer, it's going to take you to a list of topics. The first one says Club Treasurer. And if you click on that, you're going to get this page. This is the top of the page. And on the top are the 3 most important documents that International feels are important to a club treasurer. You've got the Club Treasurer ebook. I sent you a copy of that. And it's good for you to have a printed copy of that ebook. It's just easier to read. But it's also important to keep that file that I sent you, because most of the topics have a blue hyperlink, which if you click on it, it will either download additional information, or it will take you to a website that gives you additional information on that topic. Obviously, you should have a constitution and bylaws that has all the rules by which your club should be governed, part of which are the treasurer, and you should make sure that you understand and follow all of those rules to properly conduct the business of your club. And then they have a best practice for financial transparency to make sure that you do a lot of the things that Dan and Hans have already talked about. On the bottom of that same page are other resources that Lions International thinks are important. Again, they're in blue. You can click on those and they're hyperlinked and will take you to further into the Lions Clubs International website so that you can get additional information. One of the important things, if you look on the middle of the left side, is the Lions Learning Center. If you go to the Lions Learning Center and you're a club treasurer, when you sign into the Lions Center with your Lion account, they know that you're a club treasurer. And there is a club treasurer path that's laid out with a certain list of topics that they think are important to a club treasurer. Most of those are 1 hour long subjects, and they're web PowerPoint based or videos with a little test in them. And that'll give you a lot of good information on how to do your job as a club treasurer. This slide aggregates a bunch of those important documents and sources of resources. I would highlight in the middle there the USA Canada Forum. If you ever get to attend those, they have a whole series of classes, about 70 classes at every forum, so that on different topics. And the forum also has Lions University, and there's bachelor, master's, and doctorate certificates you can get. And one of those is about club finances. And then we have various leadership institutes that you can attend to get more leadership training in addition to just financial and training for your club. And then there's all sorts of YouTube videos on almost any subject you can think of, even to include for all of your club officers. We also included in your participants manual a page that has a lot of the common sources that most Lions clubs donate to. Our 3 Kansas foundations, because site preservation and loss of site prevention is big to Lions. We have a lot of places that we donate to, and the actual updated points of contact and mailing addresses and all are listed on that sheet. Kind of rushing through here because we're running out of time for this module. So did we meet our objectives that Governor laid out for us at the start? I would hope that you've got plenty of explanation of what the role and responsibilities of the club treasurer are, how we classify funds into projects and administrative accounts. And you're going to see, you've heard about navigating through MyLCI. PID Gene is going to show you an actual demonstration on doing that in the next module. Hans covered adequately the tax forms, and then I covered some of the additional resources. We don't have a lot of time right now for the rest of this module, but are there any burning questions that someone has?
District Governor, Past District Governor Rick, can you please stop sharing the, yes. And Past District Governor Rick, you can breathe. Today is Friday night, so you're behind like 5 minutes. This is our very last session, so you can relax because Rick knows I'm very particular about time, but since it's Friday night, this is our last session. It's okay to be 5-10 minutes behind because we start a little bit after 7. But before you have any question, I want to make sure that for the new members that people join us for the first time, you have here with us our very own PID Ernie Young. PID Ernie Young, would you like to comment anything about this session?
No, I'm in a listening mode and learning things about the treasurer's functions because I've never served as treasurer before. And I like to be able to help and advise when someone asks about something related to Lions. This is another one of those areas. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I tell you how amazing. These folks did a wonderful job. So much information in such a small time. Thank you so much, PDG. Thank and PDG Rick and also PCC Hans. This is absolutely amazing. This is so much information. And I feel very honored to offer that to all the Lions that want to learn more, because learning is everything. If anybody has any question, please feel free to ask any question.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm not the club treasurer, and I will never be the club treasurer, but I would like to have the whole packet that was sent out to people, because I find this fascinating. And I have a question about the paying of taxes. Is that only in the state of Kansas, or when we buy nuts from the state of Georgia, do we have to pay taxes in Georgia for those nuts?
We kind of discussed this the other night about, you're talking about pecans.
Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, we kind of talked about this the other night. You know, I don't know exactly about the pecans from Georgia.
Mhm.
I know that myself, we have bought stuff for Towanda Lions Club and also for the multiple district from
Mhm.
out of state. And if you send them that form, if you give them that form, they will not charge you sales tax. So Dan, I'll open that up to you. Have you run into any time that you cannot use that tax exempt form?
No, Hans, I have not had a problem with it. I order stuff from a banner from Texas the other day, and I gave them my tax form, and they said you have no tax on your product.
Carolyn, I would suggest that you contact the seller. If you're the primary person that works with them, contact the seller and say, hey, if I send you a tax exempt form, do we have to pay sales tax?
Yeah,
It may save you a lot of money.
it might. I'll pass that on to our second vice president, who's the nut bar. Thank you.
Caroline, I
Yeah.
have a question.
Yes.
Are you paying Georgia sales tax or Kansas sales tax?
Well, that's, I'm not sure, but sometimes I keep thinking I've heard the word tax in relationship to these nuts. So I'll have to find that out.
And
So,
I was under the understanding that you were paying Kansas sales tax.
do we have to pay Kansas sales tax then if we have this tax exempt form?
No,
Or do we have to pay Kansas sales tax because we've sold these nuts?
I think, it's sort of strange that you are paying sales tax, and I wonder if you're classified properly with the state of Kansas.
That's something I need to find out. That's why I want to get all these materials so I can talk. Our treasurer is just buku knowledgeable. And his past two treasurers are no longer with us. They are deceased, so it's hard to ask them questions.
DG Vanya,
Yes.
I've been curious. I do the tax forms for ours, even though I'm not treasurer. He does a great job, but he doesn't want to mess with this stuff. So we have been a 501c4 all the while. Are all the clubs 501c4, and why would we be that? Because it makes for a kind of complication thing when it says 501c3 for all the others.
Mhm.
All the clubs and Lions are 501c4.
Okay,
If you wish to be a 501c3 so that people can use a donation to you as a tax deduction, you have to apply to become a 501c3 organization. Typically, you set up a foundation and it becomes a 501c3. But a 501c4 and a 501c3 are different. And you cannot automatically tell people their contributions are tax deductible as a 501c4. You've got to be very clear about that when they make that donations to you.
Mhm.
Well, how about if we connected with the state or whatever that is with the foundation? $5 we pay into the foundation or something? Could we do
If you
that?
do that and you pay it directly to the Kansas Lions Foundation, and then we pay you back, that is legal.
So
But
that
you
would,
have to make it out to the Kansas Lions Foundation, and then in the subcategory, put what club it is.
okay,
That's the
Thank
only
you.
way it's legal.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Ooh, great.
I have a
And
question.
Bev,
and
we've done,
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead, Misty.
My question is, when you're filing the annual form and getting set up with your LLC, it asks you when your year-end date is. What is the date that you should put in for that? Is that June 30?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay,
Because
thank
the
you.
Lions fiscal year is 1 July through 30 June.
Okay,
And,
is
but
that,
when you fill that form out, you're filling it out for the prior calendar year. Your fiscal
Right,
year
well, I
ended
did it.
in June, but for an example, this year, the report is being filed for 2020 because IRS
right,
is dealing with a calendar
Yeah.
year, not a fiscal year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you
right, and I
file it
understand
after your,
that. Oh, sorry, I understand all that, but when I filed for the LLC paperwork last year, I put in there December 31st was the year end, so I'm hoping that I can go in and change that. So, because I didn't know that our fiscal year ended was June 30.
yeah, I'm sorry, I thought you were talking tax. Yes, 990 and the dates you use on the LLC are two different things, sorry.
No,
Once-
that's okay.
Once you file a 990 postcard, you can't change it.
Okay, yeah, no, it's not that, it's my LLC paperwork. So I'm hoping that I can change that from year end from December to June 30.
And
Okay,
Misty, you should be able to go out there and update yourself on the website, on the state website.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, PCC Hans. Anybody else, any questions before I go to break? Good conversation, thank you. Okay, I think I'm gonna go ahead and start the break, 5 minutes, and you come back shortly.
that come up, Rick? Or anybody?
I'm sorry, Gene?
Are you seeing my module 2?
Hold on a minute, I've got a call coming in. What were you asking?
Yeah,
I was
you have-
wondering if you could see the module 2.
Well, not yet, because all I'm seeing is Vanya's 5-minute break thing.
you'll be back in 5 minutes, PID Jean.
Here's hoping that you receive this. Period. Thank you again, BG Richard, for your help. Period.
Gene, I can see yours, so whenever you're ready.
Okay. Is everyone back or do you know?
Time's up regardless.
Okay. So module 2, we're going to we're going to go through my LCI for treasurers. We're going to view statements, make payments, and how to print membership cards. Then we're going to go into the financial records formats, the continuity of operations, and the use of funds. And I have some questions on that we'll work through. Then we'll go through general question and answers. First, going into my LCI, I am going to try to change here. Does this show up now?
No, you're still on PowerPoint. You need to. Oh.
Now I'm on LCI?
Yeah, you're at the sign in.
Okay. You notice I'm already set up with an account ID. I am not going to go through that particular process. It's not a hard process to go through to get an account. All you need to know is your Lions ID number. You need to have your birth date, a password that you want to use. And I think there's one other thing, but I can't think of it. And you can register and become be on the account. When you sign in, you will see it. Anyway, this is what I see when I sign in. And I go to my LCI. And I have to change title up here so to become treasurer. Then when I do hit on my Lions Club, I can do statement and dues. And this will be for the Lawrence Lions Club. Now one of the things you notice right here under paper statements, you can opt out of paper statements or opt in. I like to opt out. I figure I can print a copy. I don't need to have them sent to me in the mail. So that's a personal preference that you can do. Now, up here, you'll notice we have the statements and the current balance, and you can view. Is that showing up now? Does that show up the view?
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
all right, so that is the statement, and I've already paid the bill. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to go for the, down to the July statement, and that'll show you your invoice for the end of the calendar year. Actually, this is a statement. Let me go back again. There is another. Rick, help me out. Where's the,
Well, for
And-
some reason, yours didn't go back any further than the first month of the year. Sometimes when you go
Here.
into that,
here it is. Here's the invoice. You have to go back to the previous year to get your invoice for a previous year. You'll notice here that you have all the names of the members of your club. You'll notice you have family members. We have 2 in our club, and it identifies the head of household. I believe you can have 5 family members, but they have to live in your home in order to be a family member. Family member gets half dues. And at the bottom, it'll show you the dollar amount of the invoice. Now, you'll notice over here, there's a make a payment. Just click on make a payment. And how do you want to pay? You can click credit card, debit card, or you can do PayPal. Well, I'm set up on a debit card.
make sure you go slow, Gene, so we can all get your card number.
Yeah. Well, now you'll notice I don't know any money, but you go down here, saved accounts, and it says choose one. So I've got 2 I've got one for our project or our administrative account, and then one for project in case we buy something that is a project, then I can pay for that on this line too. Now, you can also go in and you can do a new account. You can click here with e-check or credit card. So all you have to do is enter the credit card number and the information from the credit card. But for me, I will go back here and choose that. It shows information. The ending with such new account. Now continue the payment amount. And all you have to do is to submit after you continue. I guess since I don't have anything in there, it's not going to do it. But once you enter a figure, it'll go give you a printout. Down at the bottom, you'll have your 3-digit code, and then you hit that and then confirm, and your payment will be made. Is there any questions on this?
Gene, are you going to go back and show them the e-check?
I can try.
Well-
You might have to help me on the e-check.
Get back on this particular one. If you check e-check, go back to slide, I'll go back up 1. If you click on e-check, and initially when it says to set up your account, all you do is just like take your routing number and your account number off of one of your checks, and that will tell whether it's checking, savings, or whatever, and you set it up. And then the next time you come in, that drop down menu where it says saved account that Gene showed you earlier, it will show your particular bank account that you set up. And then you just go through those other screens, like Gene said. It says, here's what you currently owe. How much do you want to pay? And you just walk through those steps. And you can then print out a receipt and you're done. I mean, with 5 minutes or less, you've paid your international bill by an electronic check. So it's very quick. It's, you know, almost instantaneous. So I've started using it finally. I didn't even realize we could do that. And I've been treasurer for a lot of years. So I've started doing that now for all of my international bills.
Do you have any watermelons left?
Any
And
other,
Rick,
you have a question?
Yeah, Misty?
no, I don't have a question, but back on that screen, there was a question at the bottom to save this information, and there was a yes or no radio button. So if you want to save it, you have to be sure to click save this information.
Okay, good. Thank you. Any other questions about using a credit card, debit card, e-check for paying your LCI level bills?
All right, we'll go back into the main menu. At the bottom, you'll notice under your Lions Club, you have membership cards. And then you decide which size of paper you want to use. If you want to use a 10 up, you click that. And then you can select all, or you can select one at a time. If we select all, it'll come up like that. And then you can print cards.
You have to select the ending date, the month of the ending date for which people are paid through. Right up there.
Yeah,
on what month.
Yeah, it gives you a range of dates. If you're a 6 month, you would want to do this for 12/21. If you're a yearly, you'd go for 7 or 6/22, depending on how your members pay. I'm going to go with the 6/22 and we'll select all, print cards. Now, you can actually save this to a file and print it from your computer, or you can print it right now, whichever way you want to do it. I save it to a file and print it out, but and you can also print this. You can print it on plain paper if you want to go through the steps of cutting out each one, but you can also go to the office supply and get a set of perforated cards that you can print on, and you can just print it off like that. Just have to get the right card for the right size. So, you know, I've got 10 per sheet. The other option was 8 per sheet. Sometimes you might have to play with it just a little bit to get it centered just right. Is there any question on membership cards?
Gene, could I offer some comments?
Yes.
What I do is I'll print this off, and because the treasurer or the secretary have to sign it, I will print this and I will sign all the members' cards on this. Then I will rescan it so that it has my signature on it and save it as a PDF file. And I just mail that whole sheet out to everybody. I tried cutting them up and handing them out at club meetings. And, you know, if 2/3 of your members never show up for a club meeting, then you can't hand them out. So then you can either mail them out if you want to go to the trouble. But now I just scan them and then mail that whole thing out to everybody and let them cut out their card for themselves. They can throw the rest away. There's nothing really private on that would make that a concern. And then we do have a couple of members that do not print and have computers. So for those, I do print them out and deliver to them personally. But that's an easy way to get those out. It's convenient. You don't have to worry about getting envelopes and stamps and a bunch of other things. just a technique that I use for it.
All right. You also notice that the member number is on the card, so if someone wants to know what their member number is, they can look right behind their name and sign up on My Lion. Also, under that, you can do some data downloads if you want to. You can do your club name and the first name of the people, last name. You can also get the officers. You know, you may or may not want to do this if you, depending again, I guess, on how you do your book work for being treasurer, whether you want to print this out and use this as your, when you're entering those names on your ledgers. After you click it, you just go down to view print. There's something, oh, you gotta click the,
And you'll notice that shows up in the bottom left as a CSV file. And then you can save that and then resave it as an Excel file if you want to have it something that's easier to manipulate.
any questions on that part? The reports, most generally, your secretary will do most of the reporting as far as members, new members, drop members, service activities. But if you want to get some of this information, you can go in and pull it off. I always check my records against the records that is on here to make sure that the members that I think should be dropped has been dropped, or if they haven't been dropped, try to figure out why they haven't been dropped. I think that's all we're doing on this particular segment. We'll go back to the PowerPoint. I noticed most people used one of the either QuickBooks Quicken or a spreadsheet, and we did have some that had other. You know, QuickBooks or Quicken is great, except if you don't use it already, the cost of the program for most clubs would be something that they wouldn't want to pay for. Excel or a spreadsheet you already have in most software packages with your computer. And the other, I assume, would be just a manual spreadsheet, which you would have ledgers and ledger books and things like that. Again, if I didn't use QuickBooks, I would probably use the Excel. Let me move something here. Now, this is a sample of a treasurer's, this is off of Excel, treasurer's project financial report with the budget. It shows the expenses and then a proposed budget and then what actually was spent. And then also the expenses. There's another. You want to explain a little bit on that, Rick, that this is your.
Well, basically, this was a proposed budget so that the board could see what we have budgeted in previous years I showed a couple of years. And then the 2019-20 was the upcoming year. I always showed a proposed column of what we thought we were going to make for income. And as we went along during the year, we'd fill it in and let the spreadsheet do all the addition for you so you can see if you're going over or staying under your cap. And then the same thing on the bottom for the expenses. One of them is just administrative and the other is project. They're mostly the same format, but I found Excel to be a very simple format and detailed enough so that the board has a very clear picture of what you expect to bring in and spend. And as Dan or both Dan and Hans said earlier, this becomes your authority for the treasurer to spend money for the upcoming year without coming back to you every time it wants to write a check. So once you approve this budget, that gives some spending authority to the treasurer.
You can use the Excel spreadsheet also to do your monthly report to the club. You just have to make your different items on this side, you know, budget and a project and a administrative account. Just make that. You might have one form and then you just fill it in each month and save it as a new month and present that at your board meetings.
Yeah, if anybody wants a sample, I can send them. I do that at every club meeting. I show administrative account, projects accounts, and a petty cash account. I show what checks have been written since the last report and what deposits have been made. So it's all on one page, so the club can see very easily what their current financial status is. So if anybody wants a format of that, I can send it to you offline.
PGT Rick, I think Mist raised her hand. Do you have any question, Mist?
Yeah, Misty. You're muted.
No question. I want a copy of that.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you. Does anybody else want a copy? Just speak up.
Yeah, everyone should have Rick's email address. If you want a copy, you can email him. Continuity of operations. Make sure someone else can do everything the treasurer can do. In other words, I think in the first module it's talked about having something happen to the treasurer. All of a sudden, you need to have someone that can back up for the treasurer. You need to make sure that everyone knows or not everyone, but key people knows the bank, location of the bank and the other institution. And as mentioned earlier, you have to have more than, I mean, it is very strongly recommended that you have at least one other signature on the bank account. You can actually have more than that. You only want one on the check though. And many banks anymore do not accept dual or multi-signed checks anyway. Type of accounts, you know, most of us would just use a simple checking account. Our club uses a checking account and a sort of a limited access account. We have for our administrative, it's just a checking account. And we do have a foundation set up. So that is a slightly different account. I don't know why they set it up that way because it doesn't pay any interest anyway. So, but that's neither here nor there. We talked about signatures on the cards, on the accounts. All clubs, I'm going to assume that every club has a federal ID number or the so-called employee ID number. If you've been in, if you've had a treasurer and if you've been filing your taxes, we know you have that. Now for us, we have two, since we have the separate foundation, we actually have two postcards that we file each year. And you also need to let someone know that account passwords and the procedures for getting into that. I think most banks in an emergency, if you can prove that you're on the, like if you're on the account, I'm sure that they would help you if in an emergency anyway. Does anyone have any questions, any thoughts on this? Oh, I thought it'd be nice if we talked a little bit about how to collect dues. Now, I been a treasurer of a club before, and we've, like Dan had talked about, having a member for 2 or 3 years and that hadn't paid. The fact is, we had one member that died, and we didn't know it for 3 years, and so, but it is important. It's your responsibility to collect the dues in most clubs. Now, maybe your club is a little different, maybe it's the secretary, but like Rick had mentioned earlier, now I invoice in May. I give them a deadline of June 20th. I bill them for a year. They can pay 6 months if they want to, but I bill them for the year. It makes it a lot easier on the treasurer. And when it gets close to the 20th, I contact those that have not paid. And if you get down to the last little bit, you probably, what you should do is call them and get a commitment if they're going to pay or not. Because if, sometimes members think all they have to do is quit paying and you just automatic drop them. Well, that's the wrong assumption, because if they just quit paying, you don't know if they've dropped or not for probably another 6 months. So you need to find out if they're going to remain in the club. And I know it might be a little bit difficult to do that. It has, there is a little confrontation there, but it's better to find out. And the earlier you do it, the simpler it becomes. Now, during membership drives, sometimes it's been, the Lions first-time members can get a discount for their dues. And the last thing is COVID-19 affected your ability to collect dues. So does anybody have comments on how they collect dues and what problems they have collecting the dues?
I think that last bullet is sort of important because this conversation came up in several different meetings during the year, last year, because we probably had members who might have been out of work or any number of other circumstances, and they may have had difficulty collecting dues. And we had a discussion several times, like I said, on what do you do about that? Do you just drop them or what? And we hoped that the club could find a means with some of the other members who were financially able to do so anonymously to step up and help keep some of those members afloat. So I hope that you did not have to drop members that you knew were just having financial difficulties because of COVID and are good Lions otherwise, if you found a way to keep those members active. Anyone have any thoughts on that?
I had a new member, a new invitee to be a member, and she asked, "Can I pay this monthly?" And I said, "Definitely." It's one of those things that she couldn't afford it. She's on fixed income. She wanted to be a member. She's disabled, and so she just had a monthly income, couldn't pay all the dues at once. We we charge $100 a year right now. And I said, certainly, you know, I said, $10 a month. And she said, sure, that's great. So there are ways that you can bring members in that are limited on how much they can pay and let them pay over a period of time. It makes it more difficult because you have a little bit more work to do, but I think the membership is important. That's what you get paid for. Anything else on collecting dues? Does everybody have that under control? Okay, now we'll go through some use of funds. These are questions about different things. Lions Club raised funds from the public to build a community center. May the building be used for Lions meeting as well as for the community.
Gene, let's ask everybody to unmute themselves. It's a little difficult for people to unmute and raise their hands. And if we can have, I think, a better free flow of information, if everybody is unmuted and just feels more comfortable just speaking out, is that okay?
That's fine. Anyone have an answer for this?
I would say if the community lets them, but it's not just because the Lions Club donated it to the public or raised the funds for it, that it's not just their building. They made it to the public.
Can they use it?
They could use it, I guess, if they are on the calendar.
Yeah, well, that's one of the, yeah. That's the answer, yes. I think we only got about 6 or 7 minutes left, so I'm going to go fairly fast.
Well, you got started 20 minutes late, so yeah, let's get some.
Yeah, the Lions Club maintains a public park. Maybe we use public funds for maintenance of the public park. Yes.
I don't know. Oh,
All right, so it's a park used for the public. Our Lions Club purchased directors and officers insurance with crime fidelity and bond coverage to protect the officers and to protect the club from losses as a result of fraudulent act. What funds may be used to purchase this insurance?
Yes, man.
yep.
Admin. That's right, administrative expense. They also purchased an excess umbrella and liquor liability for the fundraiser. What funds can be used to purchase this?
The activity.
This actually, it's the cost of the fundraiser, and therefore the public funds may be used. In other words, it's the cost of that fundraiser. So you just plug it into that particular fundraiser as an expense. Think about incorporating. Can public funds be used for legal and filing fees necessary for incorporation?
No.
No,
No.
it's an administrative cost. We decided to create a separate foundation. May we use public funds for the startup cost of creating the legal entity? Somebody say yes? Well,
Is
actually,
the foundation going to be used for public?
well, this is to set the cost of setting it up. And according to Lions International, this is an administrative expense that must be paid by administrative funds. Now, I actually pay for our foundation annual fee out of the foundation account because I consider that an expense of the foundation. But here they're talking
Right.
about the creating of the legal thing, not the ongoing expense. Okay, a member of our club lost their house to a fire. May we use public funds to assist him?
No.
Did I
I
hear
think
no?
yes.
Yes. You cannot use public funds to benefit a member of the Lions Club.
Okay,
However, if your club wants to collect money from the members, they can assist him personally. But you cannot take money out of the public funds to benefit a member. Now, a sister of one of our Lions Club members recently lost their house due to a flood. May we use public funds to assist her? Although the funds can't be used to benefit a lion, so long as the member will not personally receive a financial benefit from the transaction, a member who is not a dependent may be eligible to receive public funds from the club.
okay.
Gene, could you go back a slide? I want to ask a question. We can make donations of public funds to Kansas Lions Foundation, correct?
Yes,
So we could make a $500 donation to Kansas Lions Foundation from our club. And Kansas Lions Foundation has the KLAT, I forget, grant, I guess you'd call it, where they give $500 to people who have lost fire. Do you think that would be a legal workaround?
I will tell you that I don't know. I think Dan, if he's still on, might be able to answer that better. But
We have not ran into that situation as yet.
yeah,
And I just, if the family needs it and they do it, I know it's not policy, but I think that if the club feels that way and it is not club money that's being brought into it, we're actually giving the club the money to buy the gift card. It's a little bit different than doing it otherwise.
I think if that ever come up, we just have to investigate it at the time.
You're right.
yeah, I would think that would be in a shady area. Can we go on now?
Thank you.
Our town recently had a devastating flood, and many of the Lions, as well as the community at large, suffered extensive loss to their home. May we use public funds to assist the community, which would include the affected Lions? Use of the funds may be included including the Lions member, so long as the members meet the same eligibility criteria established for the disbursement of funds as assistance. So as long as they are treated no different than the other members in that community, then they would be eligible. Any questions on that? The club wants to establish a scholarship fund for children or grandchildren of Lion members. May we use funds from the public to support this fund? This is sort of a long description, but it says basically, no, if you set it up only for the children or grandchildren, it is they're not eligible. However, if you establish a scholarship for the public at large, they could include family members as long as the public, as the recipients meet the qualifications, are selected by a group such as a school outside of the control of the Lions Club. So it would be okay if the club does not select the members
Right,
and children or children.
right.
This is the last one. We are having a Lions dinner open to all Lions clubs in the district. May we use the proceeds from the sale of the ticket to the dinner for our administrative fund.
No,
This is only open to Lions.
nope.
As the event is limited to Lions members, the proceeds may be designated as administrative funds as, I can't read that last part.
As well as public funds.
As well as public funds.
That's basically what Topeka Sunflower does with their steak fry.
Right,
Yeah.
and then I think Dan was talking about doing a thing where they sponsor something, but it's not a Lions activity, and they got a fee from the
Yeah, they
whatever.
don't
the-
identify themselves as Lions when they're doing it.
Yeah, as
It
long as
was,
it's
it was
not-
a carnival, it was a carnival fee, the 10%, we got a 10% cut from the carnival. It was never identified as Lions Club whatsoever.
That's all the questions on that. Do we have any questions about any part of this module?
Those scenarios were part of a longer sheet of scenarios provided by Lions International. I didn't want to send them out in advance, so then you would have all the correct answers. So I will send that sheet to you this weekend, so you'll see some of the other scenarios. Dan, I'm gonna, Gene, if you'll,
I will exit. I do want to thank everyone for, I can't seem to exit.
you just quit share.
Yeah.
Should be up at the top of your screen, just quit
That's
share.
it. There it is. There it is. You should be in control now.
Well, I would be if I weren't married.
There's always control.
Okay. I'm going to send out an email that has some survey questions on it so we can get your feedback about the training. I would ask that you just do a reply directly to me. Do not reply all, and give me your answers to those questions. And then I will aggregate those and get them to the governor so we can analyze how the training went and what we need to do for the future. So with that, Governor.
Thank you, PDD Rick. Thank you so much, PID Dean, for the great presentation, and we'll enjoy your case studies. So now I'd like to thank you so much, all the participants. Your attendance to this seminar has been outstanding. Our special guests are on State Treasurer, PCC Hans. Thank you so much for joining us. Our faculty, our outstanding faculty, PDG Dan Funk, again, PCC Hans, immediate just Governor Rick Dodson, and PID Dean Vogel. Thank you for your service. You are serving this district, not only District 17A, but KAN. All the districts have been participating in all these seminars with excellence. Thank you so much. And one thing that I want to remind everybody that GLT, Rick and I, you are planning to do hands-on in 4 areas in your district about how to do report service project in MyLion and do some my LCIT training. You're gonna do in September. That's the plan, September, October, November, and next year. So our own Past Governor Rick is gonna be doing a presentation in the West Canada Forum about partnership. So you're so looking forward for that. I wish you all the best, Rick. And I hope you represent us well. I show you will. And also you're gonna do some seminars about project management. Rick, can you stop sharing? I wanna say something finally for everyone. All right. So what I wanna say to you, this is our last session for the Virtual Lions training for 2021. You did to date, in 2 months, you did approximately 150 Lions attend this meeting, including faculty and participants. You did 2 zone chair training, you did 1 Lions member orientation, you certified 13 Guide Lions, and you did as well president, secretary, and treasurer. That is remarkable. In about 2 months, you did all that. I would like to have a round of applause for GLT Rick Dodson, all the faculty and all the participants. Thank you so much for the hard work. We appreciate you, Rick, very much for that. I have been adult weekend since for a long while because we review this material, but it's worth it because I think learning is everything. And I think that's the only way we can move this, our Lions organization forward. If you offer, my job as a district governor to offer all the tools you need to move forward this organization. And I would like to thank you so much for your attendance and I've been very enjoying myself and you made a decision to do it again. And I think it was a very important decision. Rick, would you like to say something?
I would just like everybody to smile so I can get a screenshot.
Okay.
Count of 3. 1, 2, 3, smile. Thank you very much.
Does anybody else have any comments, suggestions?
Thank you to all.
Thank you.
Anyone? Our faculty, if you'd like to add anything, say anything, or PCC Hans, please.
As was mentioned multiple times, treasurers, if you have any questions, concerns, you run into any kind of snags, Rick, Dan, myself, Gene, we've got a lot of years of experience. We can definitely help you out. We don't know the questions you have unless you ask them, but we're there to help you out. Like I say, I spent probably, a good 30, 45 minutes with Richard Webster, getting him lined out for his incorporation. So we're here to help you. All you got to do is ask.
Okay.
I just
Anybody
remembered,
else?
Governor, I just remembered, we
Right.
do have as part of our global membership approach team this year, we have a leader support team, which includes myself and 2 or 3 others. And we are willing to travel, to do hands-on training with your club officers, if you'd like to do it, or set up any other kind of training. So please just let us know. It's no sense in you sitting out there in the dark trying to figure things out when we've got plenty of experience to help you and we're willing to do so.
Exactly. And in addition, after you finish the club officer training, I have been planning since 2018 as a LCIF, as certified leadership. I can tell you for many years I've been planning. You're gonna start having until the end of the year, Lion year, till June, every month you're gonna do district governor seminars, anything that you wanna heard about, conflict resolution, anything that you think, how to set up goals. You just let us know and we'll be happy to have Zoom meetings to help you go through this year. And I think you're gonna have outstanding year because the response that you have has been absolutely amazing. Another day, one participant said that was one of the best training they have ever had. That's a motivation for us to continue offer you that. It's a hard work, but you are willing to do it because you see the results. And with that, thank you so much, everyone. Friday night, 9:30, not bad.
Just ask, just ask.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
everybody. See
Thank
you.
you all.
Thank
night,
you,
everyone.
thank you.
Night.